Sarah Martinez had always dreamed of serving her country. Growing up in a small town in Texas, she watched her grandfather's military medals gleam on the mantelpiece and listened to his stories of honor and duty. When she turned 18, she enlisted in the Navy without hesitation, determined to prove that she belonged in the ranks of America's finest. The early days at boot camp were brutal. Sarah pushed herself harder than most recruits, waking up before reveille to do extra push-ups and running laps while others slept. Her drill instructors noticed her dedication, but some of her fellow recruits saw it differently. They whispered behind her back, questioning whether a woman belonged in their ranks at all. During her first deployment aboard the USS Independence, Sarah worked as a communications specialist. She excelled at her job, often working double shifts to ensure all messages were transmitted flawlessly. Her commanding officers praised her work ethic and attention to detail. However, beneath the surface, tensions were building among some of the crew members who resented having women serve alongside them. The breaking point came during a routine maintenance day in the Mediterranean. Sarah had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift when she returned to her quarters to find her dress uniform missing. She searched everywhere, asking her bunkmates if they had seen it. Most claimed ignorance, but she caught a few smirks and exchanged glances that told her everything she needed to know. Later that evening, Sarah discovered what had happened to her uniform. During the ship's evening meal, she smelled something burning and followed the acrid scent to the upper deck. There, surrounded by a small group of male sailors, was a metal trash barrel with flames licking out of the top. As she approached, she could see the charred remains of navy fabric and the melted brass buttons that had once adorned her dress uniform. The group fell silent when they saw her approach. One of them, Petty Officer Collins, stepped forward with a cruel smile. "Looks like someone's playing dress-up uniform got a little too close to the fire," he said, causing the others to snicker. Sarah felt her heart sink as she realized this wasn't just a prank. It was a deliberate act of sabotage meant to humiliate her and send a clear message that she wasn't welcome. Sarah stood there for a moment, watching the last remnants of her uniform turn to ash. The uniform represented everything she had worked for. Every early morning run, every sleepless night studying regulations, every moment she had dedicated to proving herself worthy of the Eagle, Anchor, and Globe. Now it was nothing but smoke drifting across the dark ocean. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply looked each of the men in the eye, memorizing their faces, and walked away. But as she returned to her quarters, Sarah made a decision that would change the course of her entire military career. She would not let this incident break her spirit or drive her away from service. Instead, she would use it as fuel to push herself further than she had ever imagined possible. That night, as she lay in her bunk listening to the gentle rocking of the ship, Sarah began researching the most elite military units in the world. She read about the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, the Marine Force Recon, and other special operations forces. Most women weren't allowed in these units, but things were beginning to change in the military. Sarah realized that if she wanted to truly prove herself and earn the respect she deserved, she would have to do something unprecedented. The next morning, Sarah submitted a formal report about the destruction of her uniform. The incident was investigated and the responsible sailors faced disciplinary action. But for Sarah, that wasn't enough. She had already set her sights on a goal that seemed impossible, becoming one of the first women to complete Navy SEAL training and join the most elite fighting force in the world. The path to Navy SEAL training was not straightforward for Sarah. When she first approached her commanding officer about applying for basic underwater demolition SEAL training, he laughed outright. "Martinez, women aren't allowed in the SEALs," he said, barely looking up from his paperwork. "Focus on your current duties and stop chasing impossible dreams." But Sarah had done her research. She knew that the military was slowly opening combat roles to women, and she was determined to be ready when the opportunity arose. She began training, on her own, using every free moment to build the physical and mental strength she would need. During off-duty hours, she could be found in the ship's gym, pushing weights that made even the male sailors take notice. Her daily routine became legendary among the crew. She would wake at 4 a.m. to swim laps in the ship's small pool, followed by hundreds of push-ups and sit-ups on the deck. She practiced holding her breath underwater until her lungs burned, knowing that water confidence would be crucial for SEAL training. Other sailors began to gather and watch her workouts, some with newfound respect, others with continued skepticism. Sarah also began studying military tactics, reading every manual she could get her hands on. She learned about small unit operations, weapon systems, and battlefield medicine. During quiet watches, she would quiz herself on radio protocols and memorize the technical specifications of various military equipment. Her fellow communications specialists started coming to her with questions, recognizing her growing expertise. The incident with her burned uniform had created an unexpected effect throughout the ship. While some sailors remained hostile, many others began to see Sarah in a new light. They watched her relentless training and unwavering determination, and gradually began to respect her dedication. Her immediate supervisor, Chief Petty Officer Williams, became one of her strongest supporters. "I've never seen anyone train as hard as you do, Martinez," Williams told her one evening as she finished another punishing workout. "If anyone has what it takes to make it through SEAL training, it might be you." He then shared something that would change everything. He had contacts at Naval Special Warfare Command who were quietly discussing the possibility of opening SEAL training to qualified women. Williams helped Sarah submit an official request to transfer to the SEAL pipeline. The paperwork disappeared into the bureaucratic maze of the Pentagon, and for months, Sarah heard nothing. During this time, she continued her intense training regimen while excelling at her regular duties. She became the go-to person for complex communications problems and earned commendations for her technical expertise. The breakthrough came almost a year after the uniform incident. Sarah received orders that made her hands shake as she read them. She was being transferred to Naval Amphibious Base Coronado for evaluation as part of an experimental program to assess women's capabilities in special operations roles. She would be among the first group of women ever to attempt SEAL training. News of Sarah's transfer spread quickly through the ship. The reaction was mixed. Some crew members celebrated her achievement, while others remained convinced she would fail. Petty Officer Collins, who had led the group that burned her uniform, cornered her in a passageway the day before her departure. "You think you're going to become some kind of superhero," he sneered. "They're going to chew you up and spit you out in the first week. Women don't belong in special operations, and you're going to prove it to everyone when you ring that bell and quit." Sarah looked at him calmly and replied, "We'll see about that." She had learned not to waste energy on people who doubted her. Every insult, every act of sabotage, every moment of discrimination had only made her more determined to succeed. As she packed her gear for Coronado, Sarah thought about how far she had come from that night when she watched her uniform burn. The real test was just beginning. The beaches of Coronado were unforgiving, and basic underwater demolition SEAL training was everything Sarah had heard and more. From the moment she arrived at the Naval Special Warfare Center, she knew she was in a different world. The instructors, known for breaking down the strongest men, looked at her with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism that she had grown accustomed to throughout her military career. The first phase of training, known as the physical conditioning phase, pushed every candidate to their absolute limits. Sarah found herself among a class of highly motivated men who had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. The daily schedule was brutal. Hours of physical training, long ocean swims in frigid water, obstacle courses that seemed designed to cause injury, and runs through soft sand that left legs feeling like concrete. What set Sarah apart was not just her physical preparation, but her mental toughness. While other candidates complained about the cold, the fatigue, and the constant pressure from instructors, Sarah remained focused on her goal. She had learned to channel negative energy into fuel for her performance. Every time an instructor questioned her presence or a fellow candidate suggested she didn't belong, she used those words to push herself harder. The infamous Hell Week arrived in the 5th week of training. For 5.5 days, candidates would get only about 4 hours of sleep total while enduring continuous physical and mental challenges. Many of the strongest candidates would ring the brass bell 3 times and quit during this phase. Sarah's strategy was simple. Take it 1 hour at a time and never think about the bell. During the 2nd night of Hell Week, as candidates shivered in the surf while instructors yelled at them through bullhorns, Sarah's mind drifted back to that night when her uniform burned. She remembered the faces of the men who had tried to humiliate her, and she used that memory to generate heat in her frozen body. While candidates around her began to falter, Sarah maintained her position and encouraged others to keep going. The log PT exercises were particularly challenging for Sarah due to her smaller stature compared to her male teammates. Carrying heavy telephone poles across the beach required perfect coordination and trust among team members. Initially, some men were reluctant to rely on her during these exercises, but Sarah proved herself by never giving up and always carrying more than her fair share of the weight. By the fourth day of Hell Week, the class had shrunk significantly. Candidates who had seemed invincible during the first weeks of training had rung the bell and quit. Sarah remained covered in sand, salt, and determination. The instructors had stopped making comments about her gender and began treating her like any other candidate who had proven their worth through performance. The final challenge of Hell Week was a long paddleboat exercise in rough seas. Teams of 6 candidates had to navigate their rubber boats through dangerous surf, while instructors continued to harass them with cold water and verbal abuse. Sarah's boat team had initially been skeptical of having a woman as a member, but by this point they trusted her completely. When the horn finally sounded to end Hell Week, Sarah was still standing. Out of the original class of over 200 candidates, fewer than 30 remained, and Sarah was among them. She had become one of the first women in history to complete this legendary test of human endurance and willpower. The instructors who had doubted her now looked at her with the respect reserved for proven warriors. But Sarah knew that Hell Week was just the beginning. The remaining phases of SEAL training would test her diving skills, land warfare capabilities, and ability to work as part of an elite team. Each phase would bring new challenges and new opportunities to prove that her success was not a fluke, but the result of genuine capability and unwavering determination. As she cleaned her gear that night, Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. She had proven that she belonged here, not just as a woman trying to make a point, but as a warrior capable of meeting the highest standards of military excellence. The burned uniform seemed like a lifetime ago, but she carried the lessons from that night with her every day. The diving phase of SEAL training tested Sarah's underwater capabilities in ways that pushed her to new limits. In the cold, murky waters off Coronado, she learned to navigate by compass while carrying heavy equipment, to share breathing apparatus with teammates in emergency situations, and to remain calm when instructors deliberately caused her diving gear to malfunction underwater. One particular exercise nearly ended Sarah's SEAL aspirations. During a combat swimmer attack simulation, her breathing apparatus was intentionally sabotaged while she was 40 feet underwater. As water began flooding her mask and her air supply cut off, panic threatened to overwhelm her. But Sarah remembered her early training aboard the ship, when she had practiced holding her breath until her lungs burned. She controlled her fear, shared air with her swim buddy, and completed the mission successfully. The land warfare phase brought new challenges that played to different strengths. Sarah excelled in marksmanship, often outscoring her male classmates with both rifle and pistol. Her smaller size became an advantage during stalking exercises, where she could conceal herself in terrain that wouldn't hide larger candidates. Her technical background in communications made her invaluable during complex mission planning exercises. However, some physical challenges remained difficult. The heavy weapons training required candidates to carry machine guns, ammunition, and radio equipment that weighed nearly as much as Sarah herself. During one particularly grueling exercise, she watched other candidates struggle with the same loads and realized that her challenge was not unique. Everyone had to find ways to overcome their individual limitations. The breakthrough came during a team leadership exercise in the California desert. Sarah was assigned to lead a squad through a simulated hostage rescue mission under extreme time pressure. She had to coordinate air support, manage ammunition supplies, and ensure her team reached the objective without casualties. Her calm decision-making under pressure and attention to detail resulted in a flawless mission execution that impressed even the most skeptical instructors. As graduation from SEAL training approached, Sarah faced an unexpected challenge. Military officials were debating whether women who completed the training would be allowed to join operational SEAL teams or would be assigned to support roles. Some argued that unit cohesion might suffer with female members, while others insisted that anyone who met the standards should be given equal opportunities. Sarah's response to this debate was characteristically direct. During a meeting with senior officers, she stated, I didn't come this far to be treated differently than any other SEAL. I've met every standard, completed every challenge, and earned my place here through performance, not politics. Judge me by my capabilities, not my gender. The final graduation ceremony was attended by high-ranking military officials, family members, and media representatives. Sarah's parents had flown in from Texas, their faces beaming with pride as they watched their daughter receive her SEAL Trident pin. The same instructors who had once questioned her presence now shook her hand with genuine respect and congratulated her on her historic achievement. But Sarah knew that earning her Trident was only the beginning. She would now face the ultimate test, proving herself as an operational SEAL team member. The training had prepared her physically and mentally, but real-world missions would require her to apply everything she had learned under life-and-death conditions. Her first assignment was to SEAL Team 7, based in California. When she reported for duty, she found a mix of reactions from her new teammates. Some were openly supportive, having followed her progress through training with interest. Others remained skeptical, adopting a wait-and-see attitude about how she would perform in actual operations. The team leader, Lieutenant Commander Jackson, was a veteran of multiple deployments who had built his reputation on maintaining the highest operational standards. During Sarah's first team meeting, he made his position clear. Martinez has earned her place here through the same training we all completed. She'll be judged by the same standards as everyone else: mission performance and team reliability. Nothing more, nothing less. Sarah appreciated the straightforward approach. She had never wanted special treatment or consideration based on her gender. All she had ever asked for was the opportunity to prove herself through her actions and results. As she prepared for her first deployment with SEAL Team 7, she carried with her the lessons learned from every challenge she had faced, from the burned uniform that had started her journey to the graduated training that had forged her into a warrior. Sarah's first operational deployment took SEAL Team 7 to a classified location in the Middle East, where terrorist networks were threatening regional stability. The team's mission was to conduct reconnaissance, gather intelligence, and eliminate high-value targets when necessary. For Sarah, this represented the culmination of years of preparation and the chance to prove that her success in training would translate to real-world effectiveness. The team's initial missions were surveillance operations that required patience, technical skill, and the ability to remain undetected for extended periods. Sarah's communications expertise proved invaluable as she managed encrypted radio traffic and coordinated with intelligence agencies. Her smaller physical profile allowed her to access observation positions that were impossible for larger team members, providing crucial intelligence about enemy movements. During one particularly complex operation, the team was tasked with infiltrating a compound to gather evidence about planned terrorist attacks. Sarah was assigned to disable the facility's communication systems, while other team members secured the building. Her technical knowledge allowed her to quickly identify and neutralize the target's electronic capabilities, ensuring that no alarm could be raised during the operation. The mission that would define Sarah's reputation came 3 months into the deployment. Intelligence sources reported that a group of kidnapped aid workers was being held in a remote mountain facility. The rescue operation would require precise timing, expert marksmanship, and flawless teamwork under extreme pressure. Sarah was assigned as the team's designated marksman for the mission, responsible for providing overwatch during the assault. On the night of the operation, Sarah positioned herself on a ridge overlooking the target compound. Through her high-powered scope, she could see guards patrolling the perimeter and hostages visible through windows in the main building. Her job was to eliminate any threats that might endanger her teammates or the hostages during the rescue attempt. When the assault began, Sarah's training took over completely. She engaged multiple targets with surgical precision, her shots perfectly timed to support her teammates' movements. When one guard attempted to raise an alarm, Sarah's bullet stopped him before he could reach the communication equipment. When another terrorist moved toward the hostage room with apparent hostile intent, she neutralized the threat from over 400 yards away. The rescue operation was a complete success. All hostages were recovered safely, and the terrorist cell was eliminated with no casualties among the SEAL team. Sarah's performance during the mission earned praise from every team member and established her credibility beyond any doubt. Lieutenant Commander Jackson later wrote in his report that her Exceptional marksmanship and tactical awareness were crucial to mission success. Word of Sarah's combat performance spread throughout the special operations community. Other SEAL teams began requesting her participation in complex missions, and military leaders recognized that her success represented a new chapter in special operations capabilities. The woman who had once watched her uniform burn in humiliation was now being sought after as one of the most effective operators in the elite SEAL community. But Sarah's greatest test was yet to come. Intelligence reports indicated that Petty Officer Collins, the man who had led the group that burned her uniform years earlier, had been captured by the same terrorist organization they were fighting. Despite their history, Sarah felt a professional obligation to participate in any rescue mission for a fellow service member. The rescue mission would require infiltrating a heavily defended compound in hostile territory. Sarah volunteered for the most dangerous part of the operation, a solo infiltration to disable security systems and create a diversion while the main team approached from another direction. It was exactly the kind of high-risk, high-skill mission that SEALs trained for their entire careers. As Sarah prepared her equipment for the mission, she reflected on the strange turn of events that had brought her to this moment. The man who had tried to humiliate her and drive her from military service was now depending on her elite skills for his survival. She felt no personal satisfaction in the situation, only a professional determination to bring a fellow service member home safely. The mission briefing revealed that Collins had been badly injured during his capture and would require immediate medical attention upon rescue. Sarah's advanced combat medical training, another skill she had developed during her relentless pursuit of excellence, might be the difference between his survival and death. The woman he had once scorned might now be his only hope for making it home alive. The rescue mission launched under cover of darkness, with Sarah leading the infiltration while her teammates positioned themselves for the main assault. Moving through enemy territory alone, she relied on every skill she had developed during her years of training and operational experience. Her movements were silent, her navigation precise, and her focus absolute as she approached the target compound. Using her technical expertise, Sarah systematically disabled the facility's security cameras and alarm systems. Her compact size allowed her to access maintenance areas that would have been impossible for larger operators, and her steady hands ensured that each system was neutralized without triggering backup alerts. Within 30 minutes, she had created a technological blind spot that would allow her team to approach undetected. When Sarah finally located Collins, she was shocked by his condition. The man who had once seemed so imposing and confident was now badly injured and barely conscious. His captors had left him chained in a basement cell, and infection from untreated wounds had left him delirious with fever. Despite their history, Sarah felt only professional concern for a fellow service member in distress. Working quickly and quietly, Sarah administered emergency medical treatment to stabilize Collins for transport. She cleaned and bandaged his wounds, started an IV to combat dehydration, and administered antibiotics to fight the infection. Her advanced medical training, earned through countless hours of study beyond the basic requirements, proved crucial in keeping him alive until the extraction could be completed. The most dangerous part of the mission came when Sarah had to move Collins from the basement to the extraction point. His injuries prevented him from moving on his own, so she had to carry him through hostile territory while avoiding enemy patrols. Her years of physical training paid off as she managed to transport a man significantly larger than herself across rough terrain without detection. During one terrifying moment, an enemy patrol passed within yards of their hiding position. Collins, still delirious from fever, began to mutter incoherently and threatened to give away their location. Sarah made a split-second decision to cover his mouth with her hand while using pressure points to keep him calm and quiet. Her quick thinking and medical knowledge prevented their discovery and likely capture or death. When the main assault team reached the extraction point, they found Sarah calmly monitoring Collins's vital signs while maintaining security watch. Her professional demeanor under extreme stress impressed even the most experienced team members. Lieutenant Commander Jackson later said that her performance during the rescue demonstrated the highest levels of tactical competence and personal courage. During the helicopter flight to safety, Collins regained consciousness briefly and recognized Sarah for the first time. His eyes widened with shock and confusion as he realized that the woman he had once tried to humiliate was now wearing full SEAL battle gear and had just saved his life. He attempted to speak, but Sarah simply placed a finger to her lips and continued monitoring his medical condition. Back at the base, Collins made a full recovery thanks to Sarah's prompt medical intervention and successful extraction. When he was finally able to speak clearly, he asked to meet with her privately. The conversation was awkward and emotional, as Collins struggled to find words adequate to express his regret for his past behavior and his gratitude for her life-saving actions. "I was wrong about everything," Collins told her, his voice heavy with shame. "I thought women didn't belong in the military, and I tried to drive you away because of my own insecurities and prejudices. You could have left me to die and no one would have blamed you. Instead, you risked your life to save mine. I'll never be able to repay that debt or fully apologize for how I treated you." Sarah's response was characteristically direct and professional. "We're all on the same team," she said simply. "When a service member is in danger, we bring them home. That's what we do, regardless of personal history or past conflicts. I hope you've learned something from this experience that will make you a better sailor and a better person." Years later, Sarah's story became legendary within military circles. She had transformed from a young woman whose uniform was burned in an act of humiliation into one of the most respected special operations warriors in the world. Her success opened doors for other women to pursue careers in elite military units, and her professional approach to challenges earned admiration from allies and former skeptics alike. The burned uniform had become a symbol of transformation rather than defeat. Sarah kept a photo of her original dress uniform on her desk, not as a reminder of past humiliation, but as proof that determination and excellence could overcome any obstacle. She had proven that true strength came not from physical size or gender, but from unwavering commitment to service, continuous self-improvement, and the courage to face any challenge with professional competence and personal integrity.